went well.
Mhm.
Well, I love the A1 stuff coming. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 2nd, 2025 PD&H Virtual Committee Meeting, which is Planning, Economic Development, and Housing, virtual committee meeting. You can watch the committee meeting on HPA-TV, Comcast, and Frontier Government Channels 96 and 6032. Also, the committee meeting will also be streamed on via HPA-TV.org, HPA-TV Facebook page, and HPA-TV Roku TV, Apple TV, and Amazon TV apps. Also, the committee will be rebroadcast and will be made available on HPA-TV YouTube channel. That's why I love technology. So in case you miss it, people in the committee can go back and watch the committee meeting again. And so good evening, everyone. I'll let everyone know who's here with us this evening. I'm Councilwoman Surgeon, co-chair, along with Councilman John Gale. Committee members, we have, I thought I saw Melcar. We have Councilman Josh Mitchum. And I'm sure as the other committee members are joining us, we will make that announcement. We have a full calendar this evening. And so the first thing I would like to do is take an item out of order because we have the item going to a public hearing on April 21st. And also we need to get a H824 review from our Planning and Zoning Commission. And that item is items 2.5. It's a resolution from Mayor Plum to purchase and sales agreement for the sale of parcel 17 and 21 Wells Street. Do have a motion to postpone that item until our next committee meeting.
Yes, certainly, Madam Chair. I'll make a motion consistent with our practice to not discuss a matter until we've heard from the public, that we postpone this matter, item 2.5, until the next meeting of this committee.
Great. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. An item has been properly made to postpone items 2.5. Has been properly made and second. Those in favor of postponing item 2.5 to our next council meeting. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. And we have Councilwoman Rosado joining us. So the ayes have it. Those, where am I? Those in favor, yes. Those who are against, any abstention? The ayes have it that item 2.5 will be postponed to the next council meeting. So we're going to go back to regular order and take up the items in order that's on our regular agenda. And the first item on the agenda is items 2.1. It's a resolution. No, it's an ordinance from Mayor Rula Lampalam, amending Chapter 28 of the Municipal Codes to establish the Parkville Special Service District. I see we have on the we have DDS Director, Mr. Walker. We have Deputy Director of Development Services, Randall Davis. We also have from Development Services, Owen Deutsch. We also have from Development Service Housing Department, Celia, right? Deputy Director, who's going to be speaking on this item?
All right, I was just going to defer to Jeff on this. Is that okay, Director Ocker, with regard to the Special Services District?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just getting out of the car. I thought that was third party. Hold on, let me just check my notes here.
As a
Okay.
third party.
Yeah. Apologies. Who's on tap to present this one?
I don't think William is online. He was on
Yeah.
the item that was
Yeah,
withdrawn.
I'm sorry. I thought this was being presented by somebody other than DDS.
This is Natalie Regley with Corp Counsel's office. My understanding, I helped write the ordinance. My understanding, though, is that Mary Brennan Corsi is supposed to be presenting, and I believe that she's on the Zoom. So assuming nobody from the city is presenting, I think
Correct.
she's our
Okay.
woman.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So nobody from the city is presenting on this item. Okay, then we do have Mary Corsi. And Mary, the floor is yours if you want to tell us about the Parkville Special Service District.
Sure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you tonight and to give you an overview of the ordinance before you for consideration. The proposed Parkville bid will enhance the neighborhood's economic vitality and quality of life. This initiative has been developed through extensive collaboration with the Mayor's Office, Corporation Council, property owners, businesses, and residents in the area, including the Parkville Business Association and the Parkville Neighborhood Revitalization Association, the NRZ. As we all know, the Parkville neighborhood has seen a significant growth and development in recent years, becoming a hub for arts, innovation, and small businesses. This bid proposal represents the next step in the neighborhood's evolution. The Parkville Business Improvement District will be a special services district authorized under the Connecticut General Statutes. The bid will have specific powers to enhance services within the district boundaries. If the ordinance is approved first by the city council and then by a successful referendum among district property owners, the Parkville bid will commence operations. So the district map, which we have, will encompass approximately 400 properties in the Parkville neighborhood, mainly within the areas of commerce. The northern boundary extends to West Boulevard and Capitol Avenue. The eastern boundary, the east edge, roughly follows Park Terrace and the area near Pope Park. And southern boundary extends south approximately to Flatbush Avenue, and the western extends to Flatbush Avenue, and the western boundary extends to Prospect Avenue. The bid will focus on three essential core services: cleaning and beautification, marketing service of the district, and public safety. Public safety ambassadors will be engaged to provide a visible, welcoming presence, safety coordination, complementing, not replacing police, public works, and in the city services. And then under the public safety topic, we would definitely be connecting with those in need in the community with social services provided by the city or the state. These, as I said before, these services are designed to complement, not replace existing city services. The governance structure of the bid would be an 11 member board of commissioners. 6 commissioners will be property owners within the district. 2 will be business tenants or lessees within the district. And 3 commissioners will serve ex officio, 2 appointed by the mayor and 1 by the Parkville NRZ. This governance structure ensures representation from all stakeholders and accountability to property owners and the broader community. The board will operate transparently with open meetings and regular reporting to stakeholders. The bid will be funded through a special assessment on taxable properties within the district. This dedicated funding will generate approximately $180,785.08 annually to invest directly in Parkville services. For the first year, the mill rate is set at 2 mills. Future adjustments will be based on previous year's levy plus consumer price index increases. Property owners will receive semi-annual bills July 1st and January 1 through the city's normal tax collecting process. Sorry, I need to. The ordinance includes several important precautions. Residential protection. Owners of 1, 2, or 3 family homes that happen to fall within the district may opt out of the district because we don't want to put an additional burden on, households living within the district. And then the bid requires a majority approval through a referendum of property owners by both number of owners and assessed value. There'll be annual financial reports will be provided to the city and all property owners, and insurance requirements. This district will maintain a $2 million in liability coverage, protecting the bid and the city. And if implementation, I can't talk to it. If approved by the city council, a referendum will take place within 60 days. The referendum shall be approved if a majority of all holders of the records of taxable interest in real property in the district voting 1 vote per property respond affirmatively, and if such holders of record of the taxable interest in real property in the district, the assessed values which constitute more than 1/2 of the total of the assessed values for all taxable interest in property within the district respond affirmatively. And I pulled that right from the ordinance just to make sure it was clear. And if the referendum is approved, the district will be established and the board will be seated within 30 days. The first budget will be adopted within 30 days of the board's formation, and operations would begin in the current fiscal year with services ramping up as funding is collected. The Parkville bid represents a significant opportunity to build on the neighborhood's momentum and address the ongoing challenges. We respectfully request your support for this ordinance, allowing property owners to vote on this important initiative. Thanks for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the council.
Thank you, Ms. Corsi. Council members, questions? Councilman Hernandez and Councilman Mitchum after.
Yeah. So there is a full support by the Parkville NRZ.
We've had 3 votes altogether, so 3 different votes. 2 of them we had the majority of the votes, and the first one we did not, and then we went back 2 other times. There was some discrepancy of a quorum, and at the David Moran and others on the committee felt like we needed to add more locations throughout the district. And we kind of work that all out with opt out and going back to the commerce area. So in the end, we had two votes that were in favor of us, and the last one we were in favor.
Okay, and then the temperature on the businesses in the Parkview area, what's the temperature on their take on these proposal?
The Parkville Business Association is fully supportive of this. And we need to go door to door. People are aware that we're trying to establish this bid, and then we need to do more grassroots door to door, talking to some of the other businesses that aren't as involved in the Parkville Business Association. And that's what we plan to do, public outreach, once we get this approved by the council.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, Councilman Hernandez. Councilman Mission. You're on mute. We can't hear you.
We don't hear you, Judge.
Still not hearing you.
I'm not muted.
You're not muted. No.
No, it seems like Josh is unmuted, but we can't hear him. Can you hear us, Josh?
You can hear us,
Yeah.
but you're not muted from us.
Maybe try signing on again or something, because you don't seem to have a mic.
Yeah.
I guess
All
he's
right.
going to try
We'll
to
let
sign
him
on again.
re-sign on. Any other questions from any other council members? Councilman, so can't see. Co-chair Gail.
Yeah, I don't have any particular questions for Mary, but I will report that I chaired the public hearing at which this matter was discussed, and that was coincidentally on St. Patrick's Day. And Mary is smiling. I think we made note of it. And at the public hearing, we had 7 people sign up to speak on this particular issue, including Mary Corsi. But it also included Jordan Poland, who is the director of the downtown bid, and has been so for, I think she said 17 years, or she's worked at it for 17 years. She filled us in as to how the downtown bid was operating, Downtown Business Improvement District. And this, we learned, would be the 3rd business improvement district in Hartford, I believe, because there's also the Frog Hollow Business Improvement District, which exists at one end of Park Street. So this would create a business improvement district for the remainder of Park Street. We had 3 business owners testify, all in favor. 1 resident. Well, no, he was a resident and a business owner, I believe. So 4 business owners. And there was 1 person who signed up to speak in favor. That was David Moran, who raised some concerns, but it really didn't seem as though his concerns were well-founded. And I don't think that the issues that he raised seemed to be found in. He was concerned about voting, that large property owners could somehow outvote small property owners, but it does seem as though each property owner gets 1 vote, whether you're large or small. So it wasn't clear what the concern there was. So I would certainly say that the public comment was overwhelmingly in favor of supporting this.
Thank you for that update, since a lot of us wasn't at the public hearing, so that's really good. Councilman Mitchell hasn't signed back on yet. Majority Leader Rossetti.
Yep, thank you. So as someone, and I was at the public hearing, but also as someone who sits on the downtown bid board, and I appreciated Jordan being there, I also know the benefits of it with all the other things that go along with it. So I applaud the people who've spent the time and effort to do this, because I do think it will be beneficial for the neighborhood. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Majority Leader Rossetti. Couple things for me. Um, Mrs. Corsi, who is going to do the rest of, will be doing the referendum for you or for the district should we approve this? That's number one. Number two is you said you worked with the mayor's office, so I presume our because I was around when the first bid was formed back in the days in the 90s, working with the tax collector's office who's going to collect the funds for you, and then disperse it to you guys, whatever the agreement is. Is all that been worked out as yet? If this ordinance is passed favorable or to be worked out?
Yes, I worked closely with Brian Penny. Brian, I'm having a Brian helped me pull together the map and the list of all the properties and the assessment for all of them. So I've had meetings with him. I've had meetings with Eric Lusa to understand how the referendum would go forward. And I've also met with both Mayor Bronin's office and James Wolf and Natalie and Christian with the new administration's office. So between all of them, they've been really helpful to kind of walk me through the process. And then I was on the initial board of when the Hartford bid was founded. So I've really seen what a great, and we've really mirrored a lot of everything that's in the ordinance within the same way. So, and as far as taking it through to referendum, this project has taken, I think, 2.5 years when we really thought it would be half a year to get it done, because of all different trying to get meetings, etc. But for the next portion of it, I'm hoping that I can work with Carlos Mutaz, Bill Howard, a lot of the business owners to really have them do a lot of outreach with me to make it easier. The bigger property owners are pretty much all aware that this is coming, but we need to go and knock on doors throughout the neighborhood and talk about this further. So I see me overseeing it moving forward until we get somebody who'd be designated as an executive director to really take it to the next level.
I see Councilman Mitchum is back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can. Go
All
ahead, sir. All right.
Sorry for the trouble. And hopefully I'm not asking something that someone asked while I was sorting out my difficulties. But there's no representation for the residents, only for the property owners. And I guess I'm concerned because it's my neighbor, I live here. It's mostly renters. And if you have a system that provides like the pool's benefits by increasing the mill rate, landlords are just going to pass that on to their tenants, and the tenants don't get to opt out, nor it seems do they get any say in the governance, right? I mean, it may be beneficial. I'm sure it has its benefits, but it may also, it may have detriments in addition to causing rents to increase. Our neighborhood has a really high homeless population as well. And I would be concerned that this will turn into, I know you talked about an effort to provide services and make referrals to services, but traditionally, these kinds of neighborhood business promoting organizations push people experiencing homelessness to the margins. And I guess, is there a way that this could be structured so that I don't mean people experiencing homelessness, who I think it would be very difficult for them to have representation, but even just the average resident who is not a property owner to have some representation here, because it seems like it presents some challenges and risks for renters.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Mitchum. Some of the within the bid board, the NRZ is providing a representative, and I'm going to hope and assume that that person is a resident as well, and also some of the business owners are residents too. We will definitely, since we're working, hopefully working in collaboration with the NRZ on this, we would really make an effort to reach out to the community, and really make them feel like this is a benefit as well to them, the residents. So,
Oh.
and I can't speak to if the landlord will pass this along to their renters. It could happen. I mean, it's been based on one vote per building, and a lot of buildings are condos, but they're currently being rented. So I can't tell you which way. That you're probably right.
You said you would make efforts to reach out to residents, and I just want to be clear, like having the NRZ a representative does not mean that you're going to get a renter by any means. How will you reach out to residents?
Well, how we were through the property owners, we can do it that way, but we can also go to the NRZ meetings and other community meetings, senior centers, other community or that library, and talk to residents a little bit about the program and show them so they understand what's happening, what's coming to their neighborhood.
But they would have no vote unless they own property.
Unless they own property. That's how special services districts are set up through the state statute. And Natalie, you can, if you want to chime in here, and I work with Natalie in the Corporation Council to try to, establish this ordinance. She wrote the ordinance within the boundaries of the state.
So I guess that's my next question. I don't know the answer. Does the statute require that the governance excludes non-property owners? Or rather,
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Councilman Mixon, the statute does not require that. And I will also note that the way the Board of Commissioners is set up as of right now, 2 commissioners are to be lessees within the district. I think that can be read to include 2 individuals on the board being renters. Additionally, the mayor is entitled to appoint 2 ex officio commissioners. Those are also positions on the board that could be held by renters. So although renters cannot vote on the ordinance, or excuse me, on the bid, and that is under state law, there are at least 2 seats that can be held by renters, and up to 4 seats on the board that could be represented by renters.
I thought it was business lessees. The 2 seats that were for lessees were business lessees.
It doesn't say.
Okay.
So I think it's fair to extend the interpretation of lessees to include renters. And certainly council can make an amendment to make that clear, that it's business lessees or renters. And then again, the mayor has the ability to appoint further renter representation if he or she so chooses.
Can I ask you another, like a state statute, question? What are the confines? Could we amend the language to direct, not give the mayor the option, but in fact direct the mayor to appoint resident renters of his choosing?
I don't see why not. That's certainly not prohibited by state statute. It would have to be a political decision that council made.
Right, that's what I meant. We're able, whether we decide to is another question. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Council President, may I add something again?
Sure, go ahead.
So Councilman Mitchum, to your point, like I said, I sit on the downtown bid board. I'm a, city appointed, but often to your credit, the discussion of the homeless population and people experiencing homelessness comes up. And with my other hat, I have been able to weigh in, and I believe that the entity is actually helpful for the people where otherwise there wouldn't be, and maybe, I don't know, but there's a genuine concern on what's the right thing to do, how we can help better, where people can go, where is the information, where is their food during the day. So I can't believe that this entity wouldn't be able to serve in some of that capacity too. Just throwing that out there. Thanks.
Okay. Councilman Mitchum, are you finished? You're good?
Yes, for now. Thank you.
Okay. One of the things, Ms. Corsi did mention when you talk about public safety and working with the social service industry, I presume, that will help with the different population that are in the district.
Correct.
Okay.
And once we get the ambassadors going, we want them to be able to carry Narcan, direct contact with the police, liaison with the police and social services as needed. The heart team, whatever can help the individual and how they need it.
One other thing you said also that the residential property owners will be exempt from this special assessment.
They have the opportunity to opt out if they'd like, so we're not burdening the homeowners that fall within the district, because part of what we needed to do was make them continuous. Natalie, maybe can you help me here? It had to be a continuous, I'm trying to remember the correct wording, but she advised me on this. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, so under state law, the geographical boundaries of the bid needed to be contiguous, which unfortunately meant that we needed to include more single family homes than a bid would traditionally include, just because of how Parkville has businesses scattered more so than in a central business district. And so we looked at business improvement districts and places that are geographically similar to Parkville, and the business improvement district that's located in New Haven in the Yale neighborhood, where it's sort of similar, where businesses and homes are interspersed, included language allowing certain homeowners to opt out of the bid to avoid the tax implications of, unfortunately, living in between businesses. And so we have attempted to replicate that here to ameliorate some of the taxation concerns. And it's really purely just a consequence of the fact that businesses and homes are intermingled throughout Parkville, and the bid has to include those homes, but there was concern about having to tax those homes. So the opt-out provision hopefully is intended to address that.
Right. That was a concern brought up by the NRZ.
So my question is then, instead of opting out, why will you not allow them to opt in instead of opting out? Natalie, are you there? Did you go? Did you leave? Oh, there you go.
Here, I just don't want to be intrusive. We have to allow them to opt out instead of opting in, because of the district as it begins needs to be contiguous. There can't be holes in the district to start with, and that's under state law that it has to be contiguous, at least initially. And then we believe we can allow people to opt out after the fact. I think allowing people to opt in would also create administrative challenges and would affect the setting of the mill rate and just make it harder to get the bid up and running.
I'm still a little bit, I'm more accustomed to the business improvement district and more commercial, more than a mixture of residential commercial. So this is a learning process for me. When Ms. Corsi, you talked about you met with the town clerk for the referendum. So therefore, someone overseeing the referendum, like the Register of Voters who are in charge of the elections, to make sure this this referendum is, transparent.
Yes.
And have, making sure that the list of people who are allowed to vote are the ones who will be voting. That is going to be important, to prevent any sort of, well, who was voted and who didn't vote.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
I'm still a little bit worried about the residential because this is a pretty heavy residential district. And so, I guess my question is, if those 2 or 4 positions, if Natalie is still here,
Mm-hmm.
Natalie is still here? Oh, there she go. Sorry, I didn't see. If we make a slight change in the ordinance by making the lessee residential, do we have to start this whole process again, or is that a very small change? I don't know. Could you address that? If we recommended a small change to making sure that the leasees are residential leasees.
That would perhaps be a better question for Richard, since he's the assigned attorney to this committee. But I think that change is small enough to be made without having to go through the whole process again. But I will let him weigh in on this. He's more of an expert on the procedure than I am.
Attorney Vassallo.
Yes, I am here, Chair.
How are you, sir?
I am terrific. How about yourself?
Good, good, good. Thank you for joining us, sir.
So just to make sure I'm understanding your question, you want to know that if you go to change the provisions, let me get this out of here. Change the ordinance as written so that this is the suggestion, I think, by Councilman Mictum, that the representation in fact be tenants. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, sir.
Residential tenants. I believe that number one, that is a small change, and it's also one that is making the is not expanding what was noticed. I'm guessing that your concern was the noticing and the opportunity for the public to wade in. Is that correct?
Well, part of the commission nerves who are going to sit on the bid, 2 of them, I think it just says lessee.
Right. And my understanding is you want to make sure that it says residential lessee, but your question, I believe, was as to whether or not making that change at this point would require starting fresh.
Right. I was hope that we wouldn't have to start over again with, going to a public hearing and going back out and, getting the approval of the businesses all over again.
Right.
With that small change.
My opinion would be that it would not require that, because it's making something, making the position, I suppose, more restrictive, for the mayor's appointment. I always view it, from the planning and zoning viewpoint, that if you've noticed something that allows you to do something larger, if you then choose not to go so grand with your change, and the public has already had an opportunity, they've been noticed about the possibility of a larger change, that it doesn't require renoticing. So I think the same would apply here, that the change is simply making that one position, or the 2 positions, more restrictive. I don't think that that's going to require going back out and starting fresh. That would be my opinion.
Thank you. Then I guess I'll talk to Mrs. Corsi. Would that be, since you've been working on this for the last 1.5 to 2 years, would that recommendation should the council decide to do this? It's just, hypothetical questions here. What would you think their opinion of doing that would be?
I think we would be fine with it, but is it within the mayor's purview? Or, I mean, the definition of the leasee right now in the ordinance, and Natalie or Richard, tell me if I'm wrong, lessee should be a tenant occupying and in possession of premises located in the property in the district. Now, if they're in one of, like, let's say Carlos's buildings, though, Natalie, isn't there only one? Like, I don't know, or I'm trying to understand how that would play out, but I see no reason why these couldn't be residents under that. I mean, as you brought up earlier.
Mary, I don't see a problem with if someone living in a Carlos Moto building was to be appointed to the board as a resident. There's some language in the ordinance limiting the ability for businesses to have multiple representatives on the board, but I don't see how that would apply to a renter because the language is pretty clear that it's just, a business. One of Carlos Moto's businesses can't have two people on the board, but that wouldn't affect a tenant in one of his buildings, I don't think.
He doesn't even want to be on the board, so he's, which is fine. So I was just using his name as a example. Okay. I mean, you guys do whatever you do. I know James Wolfe wanted, 2 for the mayor's office, 1 for the mayor to appoint. So if you want to do that with the mayor, or if you want to do that with the leasee, it's fine. It's fine with us. I think it's great to have the residents involved.
Well, if you ask me my preference, I would prefer to see the, people in the neighborhood and this group appoint their residents.
Mm-hmm.
It could come from the NRZ, could come from, community group, but I'm not going to get involved with the mayor's appointments.
Okay.
I don't know what the other council members' thoughts are on it.
Josh?
Councilman Mitchum.
Well, I think I agree with the chairwoman that if we made my understanding, and forgive me because you sort of talked through a bunch of stuff, so I don't want to get it wrong, is that there will be business representatives for sure. So even if the 2 lessee spots were not they could be both business lessees and residential lessees, but if they were reserved for residents, it wouldn't be like the businesses didn't have a say so on the
Right. Well, then it
Yeah.
would just broaden, if they're residents, it would just broaden, the breadth of.
right.
John,
But can I ask just a related question that occurred to me as you all were talking about renters? In the voting for this, I think you said it's like 1 vote per property.
per property.
So in that instance, Carlos Moto would have a whole bunch of votes, right? Because he has a whole bunch of properties, or is it 1 vote per LLC, or which either way he has more than 1 vote? I'm just trying to understand what does that mean? And I'm not trying to pick Carlos out. He's just a known large property holder.
No. Yeah, because he owns a lot there. It's my understanding is it's 1 vote for property. Now, if there's a whole bunch of condos in there, it's still only 1 vote per property. Natalie, is that correct in your understanding?
Correct. It's 1 vote per property. So if someone owns multiple properties, they get 1 vote for each of those properties. That's just unfortunately how it works under state statute. But we ran into some issues with this bid where there's a building that someone owns, and then the condos inside the building haven't been rented. And so technically that person who owns the building also owns the condos too. They do not get a vote for the building and then the 6, 10, however many condos inside the building that they haven't sold yet. That's the 1 vote per property language is intended to make it so that 1 vote per property, regardless of if there's sub properties within that property that technically are also properties that they own. This is another thing that's unique to the Parkville bid that other bids haven't had to contend with, just because there's lots of condos in the area that haven't been sold yet that are technically owned by someone, but we didn't want to give that someone extra votes.
Can I ask a related question that I think comes back to what the chairwoman was talking about earlier in terms of the residential, like the 1 and 2 family homes that could opt out? Do you all know the number of, 1 and 2 family homes that would be eligible for the opt-out
I
in
did,
this district?
yeah. I did know, I can't remember.
And is it knowable? I'll ask you now, just and you can come back to it. But is it knowable how of those, how many are renters, right? Who because I mean, my block is all 1 and 2, almost all 1 and 2 family homes, but many of them are not owner occupied. So
Mhm.
I think it would be valuable to know the people who are opting out. Like, do they even live in the neighborhood?
They might not, right?
That why my question to you, perhaps for later, is how many yes and how many no?
Right. I can get that information from Brian in the tax assessor's office.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Hale.
I don't have a question. I do think, Mary or Natalie, if somebody can get us a map of the district, that'd be helpful. Because I suspect the district may not include all of, for instance, Councilman Mictum's street. It may only include those properties that are closer to Park Street itself. And I think we ought to know that. But that said, I'm prepared to make a motion to amend this ordinance to do two things. The first one's been discussed, and that is to put the word residential in front of the word lessees in section 28-260, subsection B, subsection 1, where it says 2 commissioners must be lessees. That would read 2 commissioners must be residential lessees in the district. The second amendment we haven't discussed, but it pertains to the same paragraph, and that is that the continuing in that paragraph, it says that there are 2 ex officio commissioners appointed by the city of Hartford mayor or his designee, and I would add with approval of council, so that whoever the mayor decides to designate does come before council, and this then gives us yet more opportunity to make sure there's an appropriate balance, if we need to, on the Board of Commissioners. So I make a motion to add those 2 amendments.
I second that motion.
Motion has been properly made in second. Are there any discussion? Councilwoman Rosado.
So this would, this is a question for council. So would this constitute as a significant amendment? Therefore, we would have to go back to public hearing?
That was asked and answered by
What?
yes, by Attorney Velasco regarding the residential piece. I think we didn't ask him, but the other part about coming back for council, the second part of that small change of recommended by the mayor and approved by council. Attorney Velasco?
Yeah, right. Yeah, the question that was asked previously did not include the second
Right.
amendment that's being suggested. And so it's so you want to basically have the ability to put your blessing on the proposed mayor's appointment.
Which is
Right.
pretty common and pretty typical for
in other
most appointments in the city.
right. Although I don't know it's throughout all appointments, but I do know it is something we see. I mean, I don't think that is such a change. You're not taking that appointment power away from the mayor. So it's still the mayor's. It simply has a secondary step that the council would have the ability, if they did not approve of the proposed party, to vote it down, I guess, and then the the mayor is free to appoint somebody else. I don't think it's such a change that requires going back out and having to restart the process. No.
Councilman Rosado.
Yeah, because I don't think that the downtown bid requires council approval for appointments.
A mistake that we weren't there.
I wasn't there either. Councilman Mitchell.
Well, so this is partly a question for Corp Counsel, anyone from that office who's here, and also a little bit for my colleagues. I don't know what, if in fact somehow I just, Richard seemed to express some hesitance about that second change and whether it required the process to happen over or not. And I just wonder, and I also, just sort of apart from that legal question, I frankly would like to know the answer to the question of how many 1 and 2 family homes are going to be in this district.
Mhm.
So I asked my colleagues whether you think it makes sense to postpone this so that Corp Counsel could feel confident about how to proceed on the amendment. And we could even vote on the amendment and then postpone it. And so that we could get more information from Mary, I guess, about the makeup of the district and just be able then to proceed with more knowledge and more confidence. So I just put that out to folks to see what y'all think.
Well, how about this concept that, sending it back favorable too with those amendment changes. And if we don't get the council meeting is not for another
Almost 2 weeks.
2 weeks. We certainly have enough time. And if we send this back favorable, if we again don't have to vote on it at the next council meeting, if we don't receive the information from Mrs. Corsi and some sort of acknowledgement from Attorney Velasco that those recommended amendments, would be okay.
Mhm. And Councilman Mitchell, I have the sheet. I can send this to you, but I'd have to go through and hand count it. But it has every address, and if it's a family, 2 family, 3 family, or if there's a movie theater, or whatever the building is. So I know Brian gave me the number, but I forgot it. Sorry, I didn't write it down. But we can pull it very quickly and get you that information.
Well, we have a little bit
I
of
would
time. We have
appreciate that.
2 weeks to get Councilman, and also Councilman Gale would like to see a map of the district.
We'll send both to them,
Yes.
everybody. Okay. Do I send it through you?
You can send it to me and I can disperse it to all the
Okay.
committee members.
Okay. We have it.
Okay, so let's vote on the amendment for those 2 changes, or the item on the floor with those 2 recommended changes, and also waiting by the council meeting, the requested information of the map, the number of single-family homes, and Attorney Vasalo's recommendation with those minor changes that will change the process over again. So is there any more discussion in that amendment?
A point of order, Madam Chair.
Sure.
Can we vote on all that at once, or do we have to vote on the amendments and then vote on the procedural question?
I don't know.
Now let's vote on the amendment, and then I'll make a second motion
What would the second motion be?
to send it back to council as amended
Okay, got you.
favorably.
All right. Thank you. That's why you're a co-chair. Okay, so the motion on the floor is the amendment with those 2 amended recommendation to add residential in the lessee, and to also council approval after the mayor recommendation for his 2 appointments. And so now we're ready to vote. After the discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposition? Seeing none, any abstention? The ayes have it. So this is going to go back favorably to the council.
Not yet. Madam Chair, I have a second motion to make.
Okay, go ahead for the second motion.
All right, now that we've amended the ordinance, I move that the amended ordinance be sent back to council with a favorable recommendation from this committee.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded that the amended ordinance, not resolution, the amended ordinance will go back favorably to the council overall body. And motion has been made and properly second. Any discussions? Seeing or hearing no discussion, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Any abstention? Seeing or hearing none, the ayes have it. The amended ordinance will go back with a favorable recommendation to the overall council.
And Madam Chair, can we request that our corp counsel insert those amendments appropriately into the text
Of the ordinance.
that then gets circulated with this committee meeting minutes?
Councilman Attorney Natalie?
Yes,
okay?
I will make those changes and I will get that recirculated to the mayor's office and council and everyone else.
Okay. So congratulations, Mrs. Corsi. You have done a fabulous job. Thank you for doing your presentation here tonight. And congratulations again, because I know this is a long, hard struggle over several years to get to this point.
And thank you very much to Corporation Counsel, the Mayor's Office, everybody for all their support when we were trying to do this. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Great. So let's move on to the other item on the agenda. And that is item 2.2, the resolution that was tabled at our last council meeting. The resolution by Councilman Mitchum, calling on the state of Connecticut to revise the approach to the Greater Hartford Mobility Study. Councilman Mitchum.
Well, I received an email from Councilman Gale concerning possible proposed amendments that would get him to support it, and I don't know where that would get the rest of my colleagues, but I would look to him to hear what he has to say on the matter.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
So at the last committee meeting of this committee, we heard a considerable presentation from, among others, Kevin Burnham from the State Department of Transportation, and they walked us through, in some detail anyway, where this mobility study was at this point in time. And in reviewing Councilman Mictum's proposed resolution, it appeared to me that some of the concerns that he raised probably weren't concerns that we needed to address, but that there were some other concerns that he hadn't raised that maybe we did need to address. So I took a hand at amending it, and I did not send it around, or, I think I did send it around to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you've all seen it. Let me just pull it up myself so I can comment on it. Give me 1 minute here. I want to just look at the yeah, so probably the most significant change that was made was in response to comments that we heard from the state that it was possible that certain parts of the plan get built and not other parts of the plan. Understanding this is a massive plan, and I believe the comment that most caused my dander to get up was that they might build a bridge from 91 over to East Hartford to connect to 84, without actually affecting Interstate 84 as it goes through our neighborhoods. And that to me is not really acceptable. That if they building a bridge and diverting traffic, and Kevin Burnham was very clear, it would reduce the amount of traffic going through downtown. Well, okay, that's nice, but it's really nicer for commuters and travelers. And that's the whole goal. They want to just shunt all that traffic out of Hartford, and I'm good with that, but I don't see that it really benefits us. In my experience, every time they build a bigger highway, we just get more cars on it, not fewer. So I think we just get more cars coming into Hartford, and some of them would go over this bridge as opposed to continuing downtown. But I'm okay with that if at the same time they bury or deck over 84 as the plan calls for, because that produces a huge benefit for us in the city by virtue of recovering a lot of land. So that's really the biggest change, I would say, that I made to Councilman Mictum's resolution. I also, though, noted that this affects everybody in Hartford. We're all in this. And so I modified some of the language to make it clear that we're all affected negatively and positively, and encouraging DOT to make sure that all the residents of Hartford, I mean, I-84 alone touches like 7 NRZs, forgetting about North and South 91. And, you know, everybody's got, the state's got to make an effort to make sure that everybody's concerns are heard on these things. Anyway, you all saw it. If it's of interest, you know, I can move to amend it. Councilman Mictum's. Actually, why don't I just do that? I'll move to amend it to replace it with the one that I circulated, and we can discuss it from there.
I second the motion.
Motion's been made and properly second to amend Councilman Mitchum's resolution. For discussion, didn't have concerns regarding the amendment. Councilman Gale, my only comment was the number 3. We talked about the concept that a lot of the 84, we would have gotten back a lot of the land under 84 if that's properly done, and would love to see that happen. You know, and I think in your amendment, you used the word, you want to make DOT committed. And I didn't want to be, I would like it to be a little bit more, you know, massage more, where I would recommend, you know, they do as definite as much effort as possible. I have been, before I got on council, been going to these DOT meetings for a long time now. You know, and I encourage, you know, a lot of our council members, you know, to get involved in this, because I know we're all in this together. But I know a lot of it, you know, touched on, you know, Asylum, you know, Asylum Hill, Asylum neighborhood, a lot of different neighborhoods, 84 touched on, you know, 91, a lot of North Hartford. So, you know, we've been lobbying, you know, for this to happen so we can get some more land back into our city. Then number 2, you know, I want to be able to work with Department of Transportation to make sure they know that we are on the table now. A lot of us are around the table, and we are keeping an eye on this. And so I want to make sure they know that, you know, so they will stay focused on keeping us informed, you know, and working with us for the betterment of Hartford. Did you ever make that change, Councilman Gale, to the word committed?
I did, Council President, and I don't know if I can share my screen. I can.
Yes, you can.
All right, well, then I'll share my screen. I'll see if I can put it up there for you. Let's see. Is that showing?
Yep, it's showing.
Okay, so the only change between the version that was emailed to everyone and the version that's in front of you right now is paragraph 3 under the resolved.
Yep.
And this directly takes into account your concern. See if I can make it a little bit bigger.
Oh, there you go. Great. I can read it now. Phew.
So number 3 now reads, make all reasonable efforts to ensure that no new bridge is built over the Connecticut River. Actually, I can't read the rest of it myself.
As built over the Connecticut River unless
I-84 is diverted and land is recovered by the city.
Yes.
So
And
it's just changed it to say they make all reasonable efforts.
And that's a lot of land the city can get back to build on. Well, thank you, because we would like to get this approved, so we can get this to the governor and the commissioner. So do we have a motion for, oh, you did make a motion.
I did.
Councilman Mitchum.
And
To
that
accept.
version I just showed you is the version I'm moving.
Great. So it's been second?
It was seconded, yes.
Great, then, any more discussion? Seeing or hearing any more discussion, and those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any abstention? Didn't see no more extension or opposition to the amendment. The ayes have it to send back favorably with the amendment to the overall council body. We're good with my amendment on our votes? Did I do
Council
it okay?
President, we just voted on the amendment, right?
No, that version was the version that I moved passage on. So you voted on the whole thing.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Dale.
Yep, just want to make sure I got it right. We don't want any mess up. Okay, so thank you so very much, Councilman Gale, for and thank you very much, Councilman Mitchum, to work with us to make that resolution work for you. Appreciate it. Okay, items 2.3 on the agenda. It's a resolution from Mayor Arulampalam authorizing the City of Hartford to increase its favorable down payment assistance program loan cap. Do we have anyone from the administration to talk about that item?
Yes, it's going to be Selena Calles, who is
Oh,
Selena is the acting director of the housing division within the Department of Development Services. Sorry, I don't know what happened to my camera button.
Thank you, Selena. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
So yes, I'm Selena Kais. I'm the acting director for the Division of Housing, and we administer one of various programs, but the Employee Home Buyer Assistance Program, which is before you today. The program provides forgivable loans to eligible city employees seeking to purchase a home in the city of Hartford. Any city employee or Hartford Board of Education employee who is permanent, full-time, or part-time permanent employee working up to 20 hours per week and is in good standing could qualify for the program. And what we qualify as good standing, and actually we just recently changed that, so let me just read it right off the. So good standing employees, an employee must be in good standing where the most recent performance review is not rated below satisfactory and not in any step of the performance improvement plan process. New hires to the City of Hartford and Board of Education who are on their probationary status period are not eligible for this funding. However, if existing employees who are on probationary period due to a a promotion may be eligible depending on making sure that we'll check their performance reviews to ensure that they're in good standing. So they have to be in good standing in order to qualify for the program. And in addition, they have to be either a first-time home buyer, not have owned a home in 3 years, or have sold a current home to move into Hartford. So again, this is only for city employees. The funding can be used for down payment assistance or closing cost assistance to purchase a single family, 2-family, or up to a 3-family home in the city of Hartford. And the loans are forgivable after a 3-year period of owner occupancy. Since its inception in December of 2023, we've only assisted 2 employees with the program, $10,000 each for down payment assistance. The current balance of the funds is $1,230,000. It is revenue replacement funding. And so we're requesting to increase the funding from the loan cap from $10,000 up to $40,000. As we've presented in the resolution and some letters, we all know that housing prices are continuously increasing, with the median sales price right now about $300,000. So if you look at that, 20% down payment assistance is $60,000. So $40,000 could cover a good chunk of that. The funds are stackable. So we've already met with a few different lenders to find out what other programs are available that could be stacked with payment assistance program that can be used in addition to various other funding sources that are out there to stack the funding if they qualify. So if someone is between 80 to 120% area median income, there's a variety of programs that they could stack this with that would really help bring the cost of the home down. If they're over 120%, $40,000 is still a good chunk of money to put down on a house, $300,000 or less. An increase in the cap of the down payment assistance program will provide the opportunity for city employees to purchase a home in the city of Hartford. At $40,000, we hope to assist at least 30 more city employees to make Hartford their home.
Thank you. I remember when the program started in 2023, a lot of our council members were here. And under the previous mayor, I know it was 10,000. That was way before the prices started changing in the city of Hartford. So this is great that you could also partnership with other lenders to increase that. Questions, comments? Okay, Councilman Gale.
I think it's a great idea, especially given that they make 2 loans since the inception. So it's clearly not doing what we would like it to do, and making it quadrupling it, putting it up to 40,000 ought to be quite an incentive for people. So let's see how that goes. I move we send this back to council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded to send back to council favorable recommendation in accepting the change to the down payment assistance program up to $10,000. Those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Aye. Okay. Any abstention?
Aye.
Are you abstaining or you're opposing?
No, I just said aye. I guess I came in late.
Okay, all right. So seeing no opposition or abstention, the ayes have it. This would go back to the city council favorable recommendation to increase the down payment assistance program. Thank you, Ms. Caez. We appreciate your support, and hopefully you'll come back and give us an update and see how the program is working.
I sure will. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Right. All right, one last item on the agenda, and that is items 2.4. That item is a resolution, accompanying resolution, Mayor Arulampalam, to convert the north dead end portion of Annuseller Street to a pedestrian plaza. And who is from the administration speaking on this item?
That is going to be Owen Deutsch, our acting Chief Staff Planner for the Planning Department in DDS. And Chris Hayes is also here if you have any questions with regard to DPW as we work collaboratively on these projects.
Good evening, Mr. Deutsch. How are you, sir?
Good evening.
Thank you very much for letting us know about this item.
Of course. And good evening, council members and co-chairs. I'll share my screen if I may.
Sure.
Can you see this okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you, sir.
Okay. As mentioned, this is a resolution to close the northern dead-end portion of Anacello Street and convert it to a public plaza with associated improvements to sidewalks. Per the Connecticut General Statutes, any partial discontinuance of a public right-of-way must be approved by a local legislative body. And as a municipal improvement, this is also subject to an 824 recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission. So the approval timelines are as shown. Also, because of noticing requirements for street closures under state law, there is a 30-day noticing period. So the full council vote on this is not scheduled until May 12th to allow time for staff to do that noticing. And I'll get into each of the design details shown in the following slides. First, I just wanted to note that this is closely related to the Arrowhead redevelopment project of the Flatiron and Arrowhead buildings and the co-op building further south on Anacello Street. This project, the redevelopment project, is funded by a state communities challenge grant and will provide approximately 45 new housing units as well as retail space. And this is being developed by Gateway Partnership, which is Carabetta and the San Juan Center. The Anacello Plaza is funded by the same grant and also designed and developed in coordination with the redevelopment project by Freeman Companies. The idea for the plaza came out of the Arrowhead Gateway study of 2022. That study called for a community space which could be used for pop-up events, public art, performances, outdoor dining, and food trucks, all of which were considered in the design of the plaza. It's also intended to support both existing and the new residents and the ground floor retail spaces of the Arrowhead and Gateway buildings and the businesses on Main Street. And also just to generally celebrate the identity of the area and to support the POCD goals of activating the Arrowhead Gateway area and better connecting downtown North and this area to Clay Arsenal and North Hartford. The design of this project was kicked off in late 2023. There was a public meeting held at Duncan Park and an advisory committee formed comprised of representatives from a number of organizations, including Clay Arsenal, NRZ, CADF, the Hartford Preservation Alliance, as well as our Parking Authority, University of Hartford, Real Artways, Greater Hartford Arts Council, and other residents and businesses. Multiple advisory committee meetings were held, as well as correspondence with members of the advisory committee outside of those meetings. Staff also distributed flyers door to door to residents and businesses in the area and posted a public project webpage. And as mentioned, staff will also be sending out mailers noticing the street closure to all addresses on Anacello Street, including notice that there will be an upcoming public comment session by council. As mentioned, this is funded by the Communities Challenge Grant, 1.3 million of that $6.3 million grant, as well as $250,000 in city funds, which have already been allocated. And then there is a $200,000 CIP request for the upcoming fiscal year for additional features, which we believe would make for a better overall design. And so as to the features of the plaza, which I'll get more into now, that includes trees, ground cover, removable safety bollards for the safety of pedestrians and people within the plaza. Plaza will be wide enough to accommodate food trucks and other events and will be about 60 feet wide in total. Other features include native plantings at the northern end of the plaza, as shown, as well as a paving pattern, which echoes the flow of the Connecticut River, and 5 art panels, which we've talked with the Greater Hartford Arts Council about, to have those be filled by local artists or history showcase. So all of this is fully designed and funded. The features which aren't currently funded, which are the subject of our CIP request, are overhead lighting, like you might see on Pratt Street or some other places. This is lighting that can be easily removed and is tall enough to accommodate emergency vehicles. There's also an archway, which is also similar to Pratt Street, Bartholomew Avenue, and some other places that these arches have been installed. And the design of the columns is echoing the design of Keeney Tower, which is right across the street. And the design of the arch is continuing that river theme. Also not shown in this rendering, but as mentioned, there will be plantings in the landscaped area, the green area shown, and that will help to shield or screen pedestrians and others from the traffic of the intersection nearby, the intersection of Main Street and Albany Avenue. And then finally, just a note on the parking, since this will be the closure of this part of the street. There is currently limited on-street parking as shown. The street isn't really wide enough to accommodate 2 travel lanes as well as 2 parking lanes. As part of the redevelopment project, there will be 16 new off-street spaces added. And then there is limited on-street parking on Main Street and further down Anacella Street. And then longer term, there may be other parking options in the works. But that covers the design of the plaza, and staff are available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Joyce. Council members, Councilman Mitchum. If you can
Thank you.
take your drawing down so we can see, or do you need the drawing up, Councilman Mitchum?
No, I don't need the drawing up.
Okay.
Thanks for the presentation, first of all. I know, well, you mentioned that this is sort of supposed to go with the Arrowhead project and the larger sort of connecting downtown to Clay Arsenal and so on and so forth. I know we've talked about, or there has been talk of, dramatically changing that Main and Albany intersection to make it less chaotic and terrifying, like either through a rotary or something else. Is all of this new, sidewalk and all that stuff, like if later on we decide to put a rotary or something, would we end up having to tear that up, or does this sort of anticipate and work with fixing that intersection?
Yes, Councilman, it's a good question. We've had meetings with DOT about that project, and we've sent them the plans and made them aware at multiple points that this project is being designed, and we have no interest in any of these improvements being removed or altered by the DOT's plans. And from the early conceptual plans that they've developed, it doesn't look like any of the sidewalks, or at least more than I think a few feet at the very northeastern portion, would really be affected by their plans, which would also calm the intersection and be complementary to what we're designing here. Our hope is that their designs will echo ours to some degree, since that project is following ours. There will be sidewalk improvements as part of that project as well, but we will also make sure that anything that's disturbed will be restored to the conditions that are being shown.
Thank you.
Any other council members? I can't see. I can't see if anybody else has their hands up. Anybody count? If you, since the presentation is still up, I can't see everyone. So if
no one else has their hands up, Council President.
Nobody else? Okay. All right.
No.
So then Councilman Mitchum had my same question regarding the intersection, right outside the plaza. What is DOT plan? Because that's Route 44. What is DOT plan and when do they anticipate what they're going to do with that intersection there?
Sure. Councilman Surgeon, they've shared their early conceptual plans and had a public meeting within the past several months to share those. They in the early stages, they were considering a roundabout. That no longer seems like the most viable option considering some of the traffic constraints. So the plan is more to narrow the intersection to make it easier to cross for pedestrians, to bring it up to more modern standards. The timeline, I couldn't tell you the exact dates, but it is one of the earlier projects under the umbrella of the Greater Hartford Mobility Project, one of their more priority projects. So I believe the implementation of that should be getting started within next year or two, but I don't want to commit to that answer. I would have to get back to you with exact dates as far as they're known.
Yeah, that'd be great if you can let us know. I mean, I understand what you're talking about. That's right at the, what do we do back in the days? You know, we should call it the tunnel. So you have Albany Avenue, keep going, and then you have, you know, Main North, that's, you know, to the right, you know, and then there's a school right there, very heavy, you know, pedestrian, and, you know, with the hope of more commercial property facing Main Street, have all that taken consideration with DOT and when they are designing that area. That's number one. Number two, you know, I heard the Public Works Director was here. I'm not sure if he's still here or not. When we do the plaza, who's going to be in charge of the cleaning of snow and cleaning of the plaza? So if Director Hayes can talk to that and the design of that intersection, right, that is really important. If we're gonna approve this plaza.
Mr. Deutsch, do you want to answer the DOT question first?
Sure, if you have anything to add, Director Hayes.
Well, I was just going to say, with regard to the planning, initially the DOT met with us and Owen leading that group. They met with us throughout the entire planning process. They didn't just come to us at some other point, since it's been a project that's been around since even when I was at the DOT. So to your point, all of those issues, like what we were planning to do with Arrowhead, were taken into consideration by them. And when you can correct me, but I think at one point in the early stages, we were probably meeting with them monthly. This department still maintains, between the groups of us, and I can't speak for DPW, we probably have standing meetings with DOT weekly on all the projects that are going on. So from the design perspective, we have certainly looked at it. I'll just make one other comment with regard to timing. This is an early stage item for the DOT for a very specific reason. And, you know, I like to be very transparent, because that is the area where there is the tunnel. And at some point, perhaps in the next 10 to 15 years, they're going to have to completely redo that tunnel. The project they're doing now is an early project. So they're not spending $20 million for this project. They're certainly spending money to make it safer. But at some point, they may still have to come back in, you know, 15 or 20 years to do more. So I just wanted to say that they realized it was important. At our urging, they made it a priority project, and it'll be a little bit more limited than let's lift up the whole street. Let's look at the tunnel underneath. At some point, they're going to have to get to that. And that's just my comments to hopefully answer a couple of the points that you raised.
That Deputy Director that you mentioned, the tunnel, because not a lot of us, and sure few oldies but goodies who lived in the city, you know that was a tunnel back in the days. You know, and that needs to be fixed. You're not really seeing it, but that's a lot of work to be done at the tunnel right there. Yes,
technically that whole intersection is most of that intersection is a bridge, quite technically.
Yes, it is.
Just one other thing to add. I have the public presentation from the meeting that was held on this event, showing the project timeline. So they are expecting at least another 3 years to refine the designs, and then construction would be beginning within the 1 to 2 years, or begun and completed within the 1 to 2 years following that. So that would put this out approximately to 2028. I think that would be a that we would be seeing construction at the earliest. I also have some of the conceptual designs. We did want to look at those.
And what about your project with the area? What is your timeline?
Our construction timeline, or the timeline for the plaza, is closely coordinated with the Arrowhead redevelopment project, which is currently in construction now. So this would be beginning construction within the next couple months. The designs are fully completed. They've been submitted to the Department of Economic and Community Development. We believe that we have contractors selected. It needs to be confirmed. But the construction would be completed by the end of this year.
Okay, wow. Any other questions?
Council President,
Yes.
through you, Director
there you
Hayes, regarding maintenance, the other portion of your question.
Sure.
At this point, maintenance negotiations are ongoing with the ownership parties of Arrowhead and the Flatiron building as we determine what would be best suited to be maintenance conducted by the city and maintenance conducted by the development. Our understanding is this resolution in front of the committee tonight allows the end of Ann Ucello to be shut down to create the plaza. So this is kind of phase one of our two-phased maintenance approach.
So let me just follow up on that, Director Hayes. So who would the plaza belong to?
Anything in the public right-of-way portion of the plaza would be city property.
So then it would be the responsibility of the city to make sure, walking, snow removal, unless you're going to make a agreement with the Arrowhead projects for them to take care of it?
Correct. And we've been in conversations with the designers to try to make the accents and benches and light poles and other elements of this project consistent with other city assets to allow us to more easily maintain the area.
Councilman Gale, I believe you had your hands up, sir.
Sure. Just to pick up on that last comment, it strikes me that this is very similar to what we do at State House Square, where the plaza at State House Square is still owned by the city, but we have a management agreement with the property owner there, that State House Square complex. They maintain it, and we have some sort of a management agreement with them. And it sounds like that might be what we would love to work towards with respect to this plaza. I find the whole thing exciting and thrilling to see areas that have been not very pleasant areas for far too long. I mean, my God, when the Board of Education building came down and we stopped using High Street and all this started deteriorating. So what a welcome change. So I'm going to make a motion to send this back to council with a favorable recommendation.
So moved.
Motion's been made and properly second to send back to council favorable recommendation on the annual seller resolution. Are there any discussion? Seeing or hearing no discussion. I do want to make no discussion, and that is in your timeline. Mr. George, you did say that you would like the council to hold on to this resolution until May 12th.
That's correct.
So I just want to make all the council members do understand that. So if you don't see it on the agenda for the next council meeting, we're not going to send it back to council favorably, but it will to give the department enough time to notify the community on the street closing by state law, which they have to do. It will be on the agenda for the May 12th council meeting. Okay. So, seeing no more discussion, those in favor of sending back this item, favorable recommendation to the council.
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Any abstention, any opposition? I see here none. The ayes have it. The resolution can be sent back to council favorably. We have no other items on the agenda. It's been a long time we've had this long council PDNH committee meeting. I move to adjourn the meeting.
I guess you've got the gavel. That works.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Ugh.